Alright, so like I was saying, lesson 2 is all about ratios. Okay, does anybody know what a ratio is? Or have an idea?
Different types of things?
Sort of. We are going to be looking at different two different things.
How big an object is, or like it did
You're close.
on Alex's.
So ratios.
Or scales or something.
You're close. Okay, because that's going to be down the road a little bit. What you two were talking about, kind of like a scale. A ratio compares two different quantities, which we'll get into. But a scale, we will get into scaling and all that stuff later. But you guys were close. Okay, so sometimes, like I said, we have a real world link in here as our first page. So what that means is it just gives you a real life example that kind of goes along with ratios or any other subject concept. Okay, so in this one it says, in her dog walking business, Mrs. DeCarbo walks 2 large dogs and 8 small dogs. Compare the number of small dogs to the large dogs. I'm going to underline that because that's what we got to compare. So it says use yellow counters. We're going to cross that out because we're going to use dots to represent the large dogs. And then it says use red counters. We're going to cross that out and put circles to represent the small dogs. So we're going to draw those in that box. So let's start with the large dogs. How many large dogs are there? 2. So we're going to put 2 of these dots in there. And then how many small dogs does she walk? 8. So we're going to put 8 circles in there. Just like that. Or any other way you guys want to do it. Still works. Alright, so number 1 says 2 plus blank equals 8. 6. So that means there are 6 more small dogs than large dogs. Okay, number 2. 2 times 4 equals 8. There are 4 times as many small dogs as large dogs. Number 3, 8 minus 6 equals 2. So that means there are 6 fewer large dogs than small dogs. So all we're doing is comparing 2 different things here. Large dogs, small dogs. So number 4, 8 divided by 4 equals 2. So that means the number of large dogs is 1/4 the number of small dogs. Because if you're dividing by 4, that means you're taking a 1/4 away. Okay, once you have that, go ahead and go on to the next page.
How do you get 1/4?
Because when you're dividing, you're actually taking a 1/4 away.
Oh, yeah, because 4 times 4 and 4 is 8. So
It's a 1.
2 fourths is 1/4. You're not taking away the 4.
I think you guys are overcomplicating it. Okay, so let's go on to the next page. So we're going to talk about writing a ratio in simplest form. Okay, so there are many different ways to compare amounts or quantities. So a ratio is a comparison of 2 quantities by division. So like this one, okay, they have these paper clips here. We have 2 red ones, and if you look, 6 blue ones. So a ratio can be written as 2 to 6. This is also read as 2 to 6. And this is also read as 2 to 6. You're just comparing 2 different quantities. So you can write a ratio 3 different ways. It is. But this is not in simplest form. They're going to ask for it in simplest form most times, which we'll get into. So like I said, you can write it as this method with the semicolon, or you can do it as a fraction as well. It does not matter. Yes?
Are you in simplest form?
Huh?
Are you in simplest form?
All right, we're going to get to that here in a minute. So when you have this, they might ask you to put it in simplest form. So let's go down to example number 1 there. So, number 1 says, write the ratio in simplest form that compares the number of red paper clips. I'm going to underline this. Compares the number of red paper clips to the number of blue paper clips. Because that's very important. Okay, whenever you're writing a ratio, whatever they're telling you to write it as, you have to stay in that order. If you decide to switch it up, it's going to be wrong. That's why you need to read through these and underline them if necessary. So, it says they want us to compare the number of red paper clips to the number of blue paper clips. Okay, how many red are there? 2. We're going to write this as a fraction. How many blue? 6. Okay, is this in simplest form? No. What can you divide out of both of these? 2. Remember, it has to be the same number that you divide out of both of them. So, 2 divided by 2? 1. 6 divided by 2? 3. So this is your ratio right here, 1 to 3. Now they're going to ask you to explain its meaning. What that is that we're talking about, what does the 1 represent? Which paper clips? The red ones. So what you would say is, for every 1 red paper clip, there are 3 blue. Well, a little bit, but whatever. You know what I meant. For every 1 red paper clip, there are 3 blue. That's how you explain it. Okay, that's how you explain a ratio. They're just asking you to just basically tell us what it represents after you simplify. So once you have that, go to page 23. Page 23.
Oh, why do you look like that?
Page 23. All right, so we're going to do number 1. So number 1 says, write each ratio as a fraction in simplest form, then explain its meaning. So if you look down here, this is showing us what they want the ratio to look like. Flutes to drums. So we got to start with flutes. How many flutes are there? 4. We're going to write as a fraction. How many drums are there?
2.
Is that in simplest form? No. What can we divide out of both of them? 2. So we're going to divide out 2 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So there's your fraction, 2 to 1. There's our ratio. Now, what does this ratio mean? What is the 2 representing? The flutes. So for every 2 flutes, there is one drum, sorry. There is one drum. That's why I teach math, not English. For every 2 flutes, there is one drum. Okay? Now, number 2. Okay? Now we're looking at sandwiches to milk cartons. So how many sandwiches are there? 4. How many milk cartons are there? 10. Okay, so it's 4 to 10. Now, is that in simplest form? No. What can you divide out of both of these numbers? 2. So 4 divided by 2? 2. 10 divided by 2? 5. So our ratio is 2 to 5. What's that 2 representing? Sandwiches. So for every 2 sandwiches, there are 5 milk cartons. No, there's 5 of them now. It's plural. There are 5 milk cartons. Okay, any questions so far? So ratios are just comparing 2 different things. Most of the time, especially on IXL, they're just going to give you a picture like this. But you have to make sure you're putting it in the correct order. So let's go back, and I want you guys to do letter A at the bottom of page 20. So letter A at the bottom of page 20. So you're looking at suns and moons. So go ahead and do that one. Number 8, or letter A says, write the ratio in simplest form that compares, I'm going to underline that, the number of suns to the number of moons. So how many suns are there? 4. How many moons are there? 6. Okay, is that in simplest form? No. What can we divide out of both of those? 2. So we get 2 to 3. So 2 to 3 is our ratio. So what is the explanation here?
For every 2 suns, there are 3 moons.
For every 2 suns, there are 3 moons.
I accidentally put my
Well, that's the problem. You got to make sure it's in the correct order, because that's a totally different ratio. Okay, any questions so far? All right. Now the next part of this, on the next page, is that they're going to give you some data, like real world data, and they want you to compare it by doing a ratio. So, like number 2 here, several students name their favorite flavor of gum. Write the ratio, underline that compares the number who chose fruit as their favorite flavor to the total number of students. All right, so first off, we got to figure out how many people chose fruit. 3. So 3 is what goes on top. Okay, now the bottom part here, because we're comparing it to the total number, what do we have to do to find the total number of students? Add them all up.
22.
It should be 21. Okay, now they want us to put it in simplest form. Is this in simplest form? No. What can you divide out of both of these? 3. So that would be 1 to 7. So what this means is 1 out of every 7 students preferred fruit-flavored gum. So 1 out of 7. That's another way to say it. For every 1 person that chose fruit, 7 didn't. Could have put it that way. Or you can just do 1 out of every 7 students chose fruit-flavored gum. All right, now number 3 here. Now we're talking about yogurt. Okay, so Monday's yogurt sales are recorded in the table. Write the ratio, underline that compares the sales of strawberry yogurt to the total sales. So first off, how many strawberries did they sell? 8. Now we got to find the total. So once again, we're just adding it up. So 3 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, which is what? Should be 24. Guys, quick way to do this. What's 7 plus 3?
7 plus 3 is
10. 10 plus 8
18.
plus 6. 24. Group them together and make it easier on you. Group like the 3 and 7 go well together because they make 10. That's why you can always maneuver around.
I did 7 and 8, which I just said it was 16. I took 1 away from the 3, so I just did 16.
That works too. So 8 over 24. Okay, because that's the strawberry. That's the total amount. What can you divide out of both of these?
2. 4.
8.
8. You want the biggest number you can get.
Oh.
So 8 divided by 8 is 1. 24 divided by 8, 3. Or 1 to 3. So that means that for 1 out of every 3 yogurt cups were strawberry.
That was easy.
That's all ratios are, guys. That's it. Okay, so why don't you guys try to do letter B? So letter B, you guys are talking about a pet store and how many pets they sold that week. Okay, so go ahead and look at that, read through it, underline. Oops, whatever. So, like I was saying, we put 8 cats over 32 total. Divide by 8, get 1 to 4. 1 out of every 4 pets sold was a cat. Okay, your homework for today. It's not due till Sunday. You have about 6 minutes. 6R1. Okay, there will be a star next to it here in a minute. Just give me a minute.